Okay, we're live.
We're live?
Yep, we're live.
Hello, YouTube. That's DFW Yang Gang.
Yes.
Back in action.
Today we're doing a video on what Andrew Yang can do for infrastructure in the United States.
Yes. Shooting introductions?
Yes.
I know we're all regulars, but Mick.
I'm Kennedy.
I'm Hexel.
And I'm tired. Laura.
Oh wait, we have to introduce
All right.
our mascot. I like how she ran away. Like,
Is the Yorkie Bella, who is very camera shy.
yes. Today we are talking about infrastructure, what Andrew Yang's policy is, and Kennedy, want to kick us off? Kennedy always prepares our notes. She is always.
So today we're going to be talking about how utterly awful and disappointing American infrastructure is. We're going to be getting a lot of our data off of 2017 American Society of Civil Engineers report cards that this group went out and they gave the U.S. Just a bunch of different report card grades from A through F on their different types of infrastructure. They had things like public schools, transit, that we'll go through on here. So one of the things that they did was bridges. There are 617,387 bridges in the U.S. More than 200,000 of these are over 50 years old. So that's a D grade. A D grade, by the way, for the American infrastructure is like it's in poor, crumbling condition. It's about to fail. Like failure isn't like imminent yet, but it's very, very close. The only way failure is imminent is if you get an F grade. D and F are not passing grades. Also, so yes. Some reports estimate that it would cost $123 billion just to fix the bridges in the U.S. So bridges are a huge issue. There are 1,500 high hazard dams in the U.S. That's another D rating. This one's pretty gross. Drinking water in the U.S. is a D rating, according to the ASCE. There's 1 million pipes in our water system, and most of them have been used for almost 100 years, which means that water breaks are more common, and about 2 trillion gallons of treated water are lost every year to outdated pipes.
And I want to add to that, that's something that we've, if you've been paying attention to the news over the last few years, you know that Flint, Michigan has a really sad and, catastrophic water situation. They still do not have drinkable water, and it's been that way till this day. And if you remember early on, Andrew Yang made the promise that he would, when he comes back to Flint, Michigan, he'll come there and have himself and his kids drink that water. So he's going to do everything he can to fix the problem. And Flint, Michigan is perhaps the most popular one, but not popular, the most well-known incident. But there's actually many cities around the country that have non-drinkable water.
I was going to say, you can go to www.ewg.org/tapwater to just see how gross your water can be.
Oh yeah, wait, you want to pull it up again a second? That's ewg.org. That's the website she's referring to for your water. All right, continue.
Okay. Okay, boomer.
Sorry, not that you need our information, I just want to let you know we're done with our plugs. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, water systems are bad. Also, the energy systems are actually horrible. So a lot of the energy system lines were built in the middle of the 20th century and had a life expectancy of about 50 years, which means they are already outdated. They're not at risk. They're just outdated.
And tying this back to a previous discussion we had about natural disasters, is these electrical lines, it's really important to have fixed because they're actually a leading cause of a lot of the wildfires that we see in places like California, because a lot of them, run through forests, run through plantations, but they're above ground, right? And so when there's high wind or high storm, they spark, it catches on the forestation, and it burns out a lot of land and causes a lot of damage. And so the prevailing solution for this is to move these electrical grids underground, but again, that requires investment and modernization.
and a lot of time and money.
And a lot of time and money.
But it creates a lot of jobs.
True.
So as anyone from the Midwest could tell you, the roads in America also receive a D- rating. They are totally failing. About 32% of urban roads and 14% of rural roads are in poor condition, which again, that's the one where failure is very close, not yet imminent, but it's coming.
Bella agrees.
Bella agrees. She's mad about the roads. What are they doing transit next? Oh yeah. So there's about $836 billion of unmet backlog capital that's needed to fix just the highways.
Could you expand on what unmet backlog capital means?
Yes. So this is people saying, "Hey, federal government, this highway is in in terrible shape. We need $1 million here or $1 million there." Come on. She really is.
She's very passionate about this.
Yeah, she hates the roads. And that's the federal government not giving them enough, that money being caught up in different bureaucratic things, or them just flat out refusing. But people have been asking for this money to fix the highways. Just hasn't been happening. You okay? We're not going to talk about roads anymore, Bella. Next thing we're going to talk about is public education. Specifically, so how public education fits into infrastructure, it's all of the facilities. So at the actual school buildings, parking lots, all of the physical locations. For public schools, they're given a D+ rating. 24% of the public school facilities are in poor or fair condition. Fair condition is not great, that still is just above poor. Again, it's not crumbling yet, but it's starting to crack. I'd also like to mention that this public schools, this D+ rating for infrastructure doesn't include things like teacher salaries, not getting the right materials to inner city schools, or anything like that.
Right. And I wanted to comment on that too. This issue with public schools facilities, I don't know what I don't know what the numbers, the exact numbers are, but a large majority of Americans get their education through the public school system. And the fact that we have such a low rating, a D rating on our public school facilities, is emblematic of the fact that we don't invest enough in them. To kind of give you an idea of how important investment and money plays in the quality of our schools, on a separate topic, I was listening to a talk by T.R. Reid, who is the author of a book called Healing of America. And one of the questions I was posed to Reid about healthcare in America is, why is it that we have such low, poor health outcomes, but we have the finest hospitals? We have the finest hospitals in the world. And one of, there's a lot of bad things about our current healthcare system. One of the side effects of the money that's pumped into hospitals is that we have the nicest hospitals in the world because money is pumped into them. And when you make the investment in facilities, you do get better outcomes. And you see the opposite effect in our schools, where we don't put money into our school facilities, and that's why we get such a low D rating.
And the last thing that we'll talk about is transit. Public transit earns a D- grade. It would cost currently about $90 billion to fix the backlog of transit system projects. So that's, adding in new train lines, getting new bus routes going. And that number is actually expected to balloon up to $122 billion by 2032. So that's all I have. Nate, would you like to continue?
Yeah, sure. Investing in infrastructure can avoid negative repercussions by creating 15 million jobs over a 10-year period. I actually have a little more data regarding that in terms of, where do those jobs end up going? More than half, according to a Georgetown study, about 55% of new infrastructure jobs would go to high school graduates and high school dropouts together in a strata, especially to men in blue-collar occupations who have been left behind due to economic changes over the past several decades. And, as Yang has talked about so many times, we have this huge wave of, what we would generally consider unskilled labor that is going to be hitting the unemployment number. Having that boost to the economy, even if it's a short-term 5-year plan, going to those that have been disproportionately affected by the fourth industrial revolution, I think is really important.
Right. How many jobs do you say this would create?
15 million.
15 million jobs
Over
over a 10-year period. That's right. That's significant. And so, I think this is what's really exciting to me about this is the demographics that it hits, because something that Yang talks about a lot, the fact, we are going to make away a lot of jobs. And also, we think about what type of jobs people need or could qualify for. Only 30% of Americans have graduated from college. So the typical or the average American is actually a high school educated person. And so the jobs that this would create, on top of the freedom dividend, which also generates a new suite of jobs, the jobs that this investment would create are jobs that are not going to be automated and that a large portion of the country can fulfill.
I'd like to add that this 15 million number is taken from a Senate proposal for a $1 trillion investment. And so obviously the numbers of jobs that will be created by the 4.5 for Yang.
Yeah, $4.5 trillion is what we would need to completely fix everything. And Donald Trump is currently proposing a $1 trillion infrastructure push, and Yang is also proposing another $1 trillion infrastructure investment initiative.
Right, so it gets us halfway there. Although I know this is a little more of a personal, like maybe a personal trust kind of thing. I would definitely trust an infrastructure plan from Yang over an infrastructure plan from Trump, because I do feel like Trump's MO has generally been to, like, if there is government spending, it tends to go to like himself or his buddies. Because I think that might have been the case with the aid they sent to Puerto Rico. That's a whole other topic. But long story, I would trust Yang's infrastructure spending over Trump's, because of who it might go to.
Yang also cites that the return on the investment for infrastructure ranges somewhere between $1.5 to $3 for every dollar spent in infrastructure, which is a pretty good return.
Right.
We're having problems with power plants, sewers, water systems, public transportation, schools, and this money. When people think infrastructure, I think a lot of the times they think it's just in terms of bridges. And I think it's important when you're talking about infrastructure to people that maybe aren't necessarily as politically engaged as you, is to remind them that this money is not just going to bridges. We're not spending $4.5 trillion on bridges. We're spending it on a lot of other things too. That are
Including internet.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so if you go again, so I want to reiterate what the policies are. If you go on yang2020.com, the policies we're discussing are the Rebuild American Infrastructure. And I'll touch on a little bit on the grid modernization race to the top. So primarily the Rebuild American Infrastructure policy. And when you go there, you can see that $1 trillion plan includes expanding high-speed internet to 97% of the country. Because when more Americans, especially rural America, has access to high-speed internet, that means more job opportunities, more health opportunities through telemedicine, more just making us a more connected country. And so there's a lot of benefits, not just from a survival standpoint, but to quality of life standpoint, to connecting more of the country. And that's part of infrastructure spending as well.
Absolutely.
Actually, I wanted to say something about solar roadways. So one of the things in Yang's 2020 Build American Infrastructure policy is he said that he would look into new technology like solar cell roadways and nationwide fiber optics. So the solar roadways were really big a couple years ago when they had that viral YouTube video, and it turned out that the French have built a solar roadway. We put $2 million into the couple that were making those hexagonal solar roadways things, and it ended up they weren't very efficient, they weren't cost effective, and there was a lot of bugs. Like they wouldn't actually be able to melt the snow that was on top of them. However, we also aren't necessarily funding and innovating that more. We aren't really pushing for more solar cell roadways. In fact, the only known one that's working is the French one, if I remember correctly, and even that's producing half the watts that it originally was. So yes, would you like to go into what he would do as president?
Yeah. So do you want to read what he'll do for president with this particular policy, and I'll touch on grid modernization.
Yeah. So as president, Yang's going to propose a $1 trillion infrastructure investment initiative called Rebuild America over 5 years that will support over 13 million jobs and generate 1.5 trillion plus in increased efficiency and productivity.
What is and then when you think of it, do we know what the 1.5 trillion plus in increased efficiency and productivity, what does that part mean?
Right, so every year we lose between, sorry, I have to go all the way up to the top of my nose. Every year, bad infrastructure is costing us as much as $1 trillion $1 trillion, as well as 3.5 million jobs, because, if you're late to work, that's a loss of productivity. If you can't pick your kid up from school, it causes a lot of problems. And so the 1.5 trillion of cost savings is from not having to or reactively rebuild things, pay for people whose car fell in the ditch because a road was literally crumbling beneath it.
It's almost it's basically an opportunity cost of how much money as collectively would be saving if we had better infrastructure. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yes, and also someone mentioned that they don't like the solar roadways idea. It's a cool concept, but it's more efficient. Using traditional road building methods. And that was another critique of it, is that whatever material you're using on the solar roadways, it does not give your tires as much traction as rubber on asphalt. That is always going to give you the most control of your car, and we haven't found anything since that you can put on top of those solar panels. Yeah,
I will say that this is something that also you see in Yang's climate plan at yangclimateplan.com. Is that so Yang has this awareness that there's these technologies that exist, don't exist yet, or so either exist or they don't exist yet. And I think it's valuable that he recognizes that there are things that are ready to go, and we should definitely invest in them right away. And there's also things that we need to keep in our peripheral view, so that we can make investments to finish the research or make some evaluation of it. For example, his policy on nuclear is he's very well aware, and he spells this out. Thorium nuclear reactors are not ready yet, but with investment and time, they will be, and they'll be a key factor in a larger climate change initiative. So. I do, as much as we were having this discussion offline that solar roadways are definitely not there yet, and they have yet to even prove themselves and prove concepts at that point. But I do appreciate that it is at least considered, we're looking at new top technologies and innovation as opposed to just relying on what we currently know now. So anyways, okay. What else is Yang going to do?
He's also going to include a series of challenge grants to include advanced materials and design in new American structures with an emphasis on sustainability.
So challenge grants. We don't know exactly what challenge grants are, do we?
No, so there's a couple things. I think my Yang theory of the night is that he's probably talking about his policy grid modernization and race to the top.
Which I can speak on if you want.
Yes, could you speak on that? But he could also be talking about, he has a policy about sustainable agricultural practices, and I believe in there he also mentions grants specifically for that.
Yeah, so if we're correct in one of our assumptions, which is that the challenge grant, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Is referring to his grid modernization policy. If you have your, if you're online, if you go to yang2020.com and look at grid modernization, he basically lays out this competition essentially, which is basically there's this pool of money, and if you hit these standards or hit these measurements, then you'll win the pot. And there's a floor where, like, as long as you hit them, then you'll at least receive some reward. And the general idea is that we currently do not have a capital incentive for utility companies to modernize because it costs money. And so if it costs them more than they'll get back, there's no reason for them to make it. So by creating this prize, creating this race to the top, private companies, as well as publicly owned ones, have an incentive to put the money forward because they know that if they hit those minimum standards, they'll get money back in the form of an award. And if they really put investment and innovation, then they can win the big pot. And so by attaching a capital incentive to modernization, you push private and public utilities to make that investment, which they currently don't have an incentive to make. And so that's a grid modernization race to the top. And that's what we think might be what that
What you talking
challenge
about?
is. Yeah. Although if Andrew Yang, if you're listening, please expand on that because we're very curious if what challenge grants are. Or maybe there's like, I don't know, maybe this challenge grants is a normal thing. Are you guys seeing anything in the comments?
Sean Anderson is worried about roads in the Midwest and North. They get ice and snow.
Let me do this.
Our resident Midwest
I'm
expert.
a resident Nebraskan / Michigan. Go blue, go big red, all the good stuff. Yes, actually.
All the big colors. Go all the big colors.
A quick anecdote. I'm sorry. When I came to Texas, Nick was very kind to explain to me that I have to be careful driving in the rain because I could hydroplane off the road. And that was the first time in my entire life I ever heard the term hydroplane because the roads in the Midwest are literally so bad and filled with potholes. Like, you can't hydroplane, your car just crashes into the potholes.
So there's some advantage.
There's some advantage to having horribly dilapidated roads. But that is part of the, so when they have those solar roadways, the solar freaking roadways, the claim was when the snow was falling on it, it would be able to heat up and melt the snow, thus solving that problem. However, the heating coils that it wanted to use would basically use up all of its power. And if the snow was falling at night, or if the snow had already covered it, then it wasn't generating any more power through the sun because the sun couldn't get through. And so, it would just take more research and more time and more innovation to figure out how to make those. I don't know how France is doing with it. They must not get the same snow that we do.
I'm not the Midwest expert, but I do want to add some more to this concern about Midwest roads, because when we talk about these 15 million new jobs and these $1.5 trillion in economic efficiency, I guess like currently we're city slickers in Dallas, and we can kind of see that in the city, but it's also true for rural America as well. So my experience with the Midwest is I have family who live in Iowa, and they lived not in Iowa City, but 30 minutes out in a small town called Wellman, Iowa. And I spent 2 months living with them there, and so I have maybe 2 months worth of experience living in Iowa. And in order to get to the nearest city, which was Iowa City, it was a 30 to 40 minute drive. And that 30 to 40 minute drive is along rural country roads. And so if you think about the fact that these rural parts of America relies on roads, electricity, internet, cell service for shopping, for emergency response, for business opportunities. Imagine if a small business and you want to expand your reach to bigger markets, and if you're looking at a place like Iowa or Wisconsin or any of these rural areas, your ability to market and service, whether you're a business or a hospital or whoever, your ability to service people is dependent on the infrastructure in that area. And it would not be feasible for, say, a pizza shop or a bakery or any of these businesses to open in an area where it takes you 30 to 40 minutes because of the lack of good roads. I just think about the fact that it takes us 30 minutes to go to Iowa City just to go to Walmart and shop. And so
Dustin Calkins lived in Iowa City for 11 years.
I'm so sorry, Dustin. My heart goes out to you. That I mourn for your 11 years spent in Iowa.
Go Hawkeyes.
Nope. Okay. Do you have anything else to add about the solutions, or do you want to questions making?
Yeah, I'll just say the two policies you really want to look at are the grid modernization and rebuild America. There's a lot more details than we heard, but that's definitely what we want to read up.
Okay.
Also, actually, I want to make an observation. There used to be a really fun name policy called the League of Builders and Destroyers. I think he dropped it from his website. I don't know why, but I just remember there was a really fun name one. If anyone knows what happened to that policy, what that policy is, drop us a comment because I'm really curious what happened to it.
It was the one about veterans coming back to.
Yeah, it had to do with military.
Is it under his plan for veterans?
Maybe he moved the category.
Thank you, Dustin, for saying you got your engineering degree and then got out. I'm proud of you.
I'm surprised.
I'm proud of you.
That's the brain drain right there.
Yes, that's a big problem in the Midwest. Is people get their degrees in science and engineering or whatever, and then they're like, wow, the Midwest sucks. All the roads are total mess. You can experience 4 seasons in one day, and there's nothing to do but tip over cows. So I get it.
Anyway, if Mr. Iowa is listening.
He is. He says he hates the Midwest.
Mr. Iowa hates the Midwest.
I hate Ohio. Anyway.
I mean, no offense, Ohio or anyone living.
Ohio, please don't take offense.
Sorry, all my uncles and aunts. We're not trying to smash on you guys.
Okay, so Hexel.
Yes.
If I could ask you a question, would you answer it in 60 seconds or less?
Sure. Do we have a stopwatch? So this is the part for those. I feel like a lot of you may be familiar with this, but this is the part where we exercise asking policy questions and answering policy questions.
So I'm going to ask you, what can Andrew Yang do for infrastructure? Are you prepared to answer that?
Hold on, give me a second. Yes.
Okay. Excellent. What would Andrew Yang do for America's crumbling infrastructure?
Well, if you go on yangquang.com, there's 2 great policies on it: rebuild American infrastructure and grid modernization. As it stands right now, our crumbling roads, schools, waterways, electric grid are costing us billions of dollars every year, millions of jobs, and reducing our quality of life. You don't have to look far as to look at the situation in Flint, Michigan, and dozens of cities around the country that don't even have quality drinkers. And so what Andrew Yang wants to do is invest $1 trillion over 5 years and create a race to the top that makes gives companies a capital incentive to actually invest in American infrastructure. It'll create 1.5 million jobs and increase economic efficiency by $1.5 trillion. Did I get my numbers mixed up?
No, it was
15 million jobs.
15 million jobs, $1.5 trillion economic increase in economic efficiency. So, yeah, sorry, I got my numbers mixed up. I think I came in close.
Yes, you're close.
Can you show the time?
Yes, so that was 56.82 seconds.
Yeah.
So,
Is there any improvements on my answers you guys recommend? Other than getting my numbers right?
No, I think that's good. And we didn't go over this too much, but he does have other plans in place that are to rebuild infrastructure. He wants to do that with more climate-friendly solutions. And so, he doesn't want to rebuild the same things that we had, when these energy systems were built in 1912. when
Right.
my dad was born.
FDR.
Yes, I love
Yeah.
FDR. He did not make forever systems available.
I kind of want to do the answer again because I feel like if we're answering policy questions, I would definitely want to focus on the things that make his policy unique. Because I don't want to sound like just give a very generic sounding politician answer.
Right, like he wants to invest in
And
it.
I feel like the biggest thing to emphasize is probably that race to the top, because it's more than just pouring money into something. It's about literally changing the incentives of the current system.
We did have a
I have a
question.
question from chat.
Sure.
What is Yang's policy on the Hyperloop?
Wait, I think he's asking what our thoughts.
Well, I know, but that's not what
So his
So we could
okay.
ask you.
All right.
Wait, what is the Hyperloop?
See, this is perfect. This is why we're going over this
Yes,
right now.
I don't know if he's ever spoken on the Hyperloop, but I feel like
I think an easy way to answer that question would be to fold it into the broader infrastructure question, and to say, Yang is very forward-looking in terms of that some of these advanced projects like the Hyperloop or like high-speed trains across the United States, they would receive funding in some way. But seeing as how he's never spoken on that, you have to kind of tote the line a little bit.
I mean, I would definitely say, question like that, I would definitely be honest about the fact that unless there's like a YouTube video floating around the internet, I don't know of anything specific to Hyperloop, but I will say Hyperloop is a very energy efficient and sustainable transportation solution. And if you go to yangclimateplan.com, he lays out a timeline for how do we get to a renewable, sustainable economy writ large by 2050. And so I would imagine that if all the principles being consistent with the efficiency and sustainability of a Hyperloop, I would imagine that would be part of the solution.
I would also, is the Hyperloop only through LA? Is that like what the thing is?
That's
No,
what the
actually, I was just
concept
reading.
is.
It was saying that it's coming to North Texas, possibly. It says
Oh.
Virgin's Hyperloop 1 is
Well,
adding
as
North
soon as it
Texas.
starts going through states, it becomes a federal issue and not just a state issue. And so I would assume that since he says, I want to fund innovative, efficient technologies, that Hyperloop would probably fund under that umbrella, assuming that it's efficient and innovative enough.
Yeah, I would say as a Texas kind of news plug, if you haven't, if you might have missed this news if you weren't paying attention, but we are actually getting a Japanese bullet train from Dallas to Houston, and I don't know if it was a Hyperloop. We're getting some kind of train from Dallas to, I think it was Dallas also, Dallas to Austin.
Okay, we're going to answer more questions.
Yeah, let's add some more questions.
Nick, do you want to answer this one?
Sure.
Okay, Nick.
I'm sorry I keep eating all of this, but
Oh,
There you
I like how you finished the fries and went on to the
Nick, what will Andrew Yang do for America's crumbling infrastructure?
show the thing.
Well, first, I'd like to direct you to yang2020.com where you can check out several of those policies, not just on infrastructure, but about Yang's vision for America generally. But in terms of what Yang plans to do for infrastructure, Yang is proposing a $1 trillion deal of bonus money into the infrastructure system that plans on creating 15 million jobs over the course of 10 years at a minimum. And that's assuming that we go based off what the lower estimates are of that. And so not only is that going to fix what's wrong with our infrastructure system currently, but provides a very nice cushion to the jobs economy. Also check out yang2020.com.
Good.
All right.
57 seconds.
57 seconds.
Okay, that's pretty good. You're very data oriented. I think also you're very intimidating because Nick is 6'3". You look like 7 feet tall to me. You're standing here and you have your arm out like this, and you're like, Yang's plan will be the most efficient. Like if we look at the lower estimates, it still works. And so I think it's good. You're like leading Yang into people.
Okay.
through intimidation.
I like that you bookended your spiel with yang2020.com. Again, for those of you who are new, always begin your answers with visit yang2020.com, because if you get cut off or if you stumble over your answer, always plant the seed of looking at the website for the full details, because obviously you can't cover all the nuances in 60 seconds.
And there's the primacy effect. People are to remember the first thing that comes out of your mouth.
And the last thing.
You know, last thing. Recency.
Yeah. All right, who's next? Laura, you want to give it a go?
Yeah.
Or do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
You want to ask a question? All right, Laura's going to ask a question. Who do you want to ask?
Kennedy has an answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go for it, Laura.
Well, okay. So, does Yang think infrastructure is important, and what is he going to do about it?
Oh wait, I
Let me
totally
tell
forgot.
you.
Let me tell you.
I can start it.
Okay. Wow, you won't let me. I'm started. Okay. Yes, Yang does think infrastructure is important. So if you go to yang2020.com, there are plenty of policies on there that will probably spell it out better than I can, and will show you like all the data and like the insight my sources while I'm speaking. Yes, so the number one thing is that we're losing trillions of dollars and millions of jobs to crumbling infrastructure. We have an overall D rating from the ASCE for like United States, all of their infrastructure, and we need to improve this. Yang would propose a $1 trillion infrastructure investment initiative into rebuilding our crumbling bridges, our public schools, our water systems, basically revamping everything. And he would do it all while investing in innovative new technologies that can help curb climate change and build a greener future for all of America.
Ooh.
All right. 50
Wait, I
seconds.
have a
Under
follow-up
time.
question.
Oh, follow-up question. Here we go.
7 seconds.
7 seconds.
This sounds like it's going to be very policy heavy. Is this going to get bipartisan support?
Ooh. Yes, this will get bipartisan support because anecdotally, what I find is that a lot of Republicans say that the government needs to make sure that the military is strong and that the roads are fixed. And the roads are fixed is the number one issue in infrastructure. And also, Donald Trump is currently proposing a $1 trillion investment into infrastructure as it is. So this is, has a whole lot of potential for bipartisan support because it already has bipartisan support through Donald Trump. So yeah, I truly believe that this will be an issue both parties can get behind.
All right, 40 seconds. Good job, Laura. Questions? Good job on the answer.
Thank you.
We have some questions from the chat.
Sure.
If we're ready. The first one, should we wait for Starlink from Elon Musk, which for those of you that are not aware, Starlink is the satellites Elon Musk is putting in the atmosphere to create a Wi-Fi around the globe. I don't know if it's cellular or Wi-Fi.
Oh.
Data access around the globe. Should we do that, or do we build fiber optic cables out to rural areas?
Gotcha.
Which,
Why can't we do both?
well,
I have an answer. Who wants to answer that? I have an answer for that.
I'll answer really quick and just say that what I do love Elon and I love everything he's doing. I would feel I don't think I would feel completely confident putting all of my eggs in Elon's basket. I guess it's how, like, if Starlink is proven to work and it quickly, and if we can subsidize it and it's cost effective, then I would say yes, do that instead of fiber optic. I don't know, but especially with things like coupling it with like healthcare being telecommunicated through fiber optics, it might just be better to do that while we do have the technology. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And so I think the other thing I would add is something like Starlink, or really any private solution using new technologies. Ultimately, it comes down to, do you believe that in the 21st century, every American has a right to internet access or internet availability? And I make the point about in the 21st century because it's a 21st century thing that you pay your bills online, you get educated online, you get food online, you apply for jobs online, there's an online-based employment, there's online-based telemedicine. And so because it's become so central to our American life, it's become a utility like water, electricity, gas, access to public roads. And so, yeah, I mean, if Elon Musk can pull off his Starlink, that'll be great. But because there's no certainty tied to it, we need to ensure this utility, this American right to our American citizenry right away. And I think that's something we can't wait for. Because again, as with any experimental technology, it's kind of gambling with the efficacy of it. And so we know that reliable technology exists today. We just need to make the investment to implement it.
Does anyone here like Pete?
Buttigieg?
Yeah.
Yes.
I do. Because he has a great disability.
No, actually,
platform.
I think it is valuable to learn good policies that other candidates have, because it's something I say often is that, like, take Bernie Sanders, for example. Like, none of us are going to be voting for him for president, but part of the reason we respect him is because anything that he is fighting for, he can continue fighting for.
Oh, in the primary. I wouldn't vote for him in the primary.
Yeah. I still think that a good idea is a good idea, and I think Pete has some good ideas, and maybe a quick plug just to kind of demonstrate.
I'm not plugging him at all.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I'm all for Yay. It's just.
I think okay. I'm not going to pressure you, but I think we've had an offline discussion about some policies.
I'm definitely humanity's second when it comes to Pete a little bit.
What the hell?
I think it's just because of that recent thing where someone was like, do you think that to like lose the money out of politics, you should stop taking corporate money? And he was like, nope. And then he left. And then the other thing where they were like, why aren't you standing with, I think it was like striking teachers or something. And he was like, I'm very clear on my stance. And basically what he was trying to say is like,
Well, I can emphasize a little. I mean, I would say like I try to like take a holistic view. There's definitely a lot of things I don't like, but there's also some things I do. I think he really dropped the ball, which is how he handled the Douglas plan. I do see what he was saying when he was like, he had this fundraiser that was hosted by a pro-charter school, pro-anti-public school, I think.
I don't know because
well, I mean, I at least I agree with his answer that like just because someone supports you doesn't mean you have to see eye to eye on everything. I mean, he's right on principle. Did he handle it the best way? I'm not going to comment on that. Maybe not, but I don't know. I think the general principle, at least for some of us, or for me, is like, there's things you can agree with something, you can disagree with some things. He does bring some value to the table. I'm not going to deny that much.
Actually, you got a compliment on your shirt.
Yes.
Oh yeah, what's up? I got the limited edition holiday sweater.
Wow. And no comments about the dog except for the one who was mad we weren't feeding it.
Oh, trust me, he was
It
getting fed off
wasn't my
camera.
dog, so I didn't want to give it human food.
Oh,
Before
did they
he
see?
texted
Okay.
me and said, like, you can eat their.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's my
Okay.
dog.
Any other questions from the peanut gallery?
What does DFW mean?
Dallas Fort Worth. So if you live in North Texas, or if you live in Texas, if you don't live in Texas, then you are probably familiar with Dallas because of the Dallas Cowboys, because of the Dallas TV show, because we killed Kennedy. Not this Kennedy.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
the
that's-
president.
Well, don't say we kill them. It's just where it
Oh,
happens.
yeah, okay,
actually.
yeah. But if you guys know Dallas, Texas, then DFW is the metropolitan area and we use DFW because it's not just Dallas. We also have Dallas, Fort Worth, Denton, Collin County, Arlington. We have 5 Yang Gangs and growing in this metroplex alone. And so this social media is representative of this family of Yang Gangs that just continues to grow and grow. Does that answer your question? I think so.
Yeah.
Also, if
Dallas
you
Fort Worth would have sufficed. I think.
yeah. Also, if you travel a lot, a large chunk of I don't remember what the fraction is. I saw it on Reddit recently that some large fraction of flights or itineraries go to DFW.
Oh, you mean like one of the largest airports in
Yeah, it
America?
is.
I don't have
It's a
yep.
hub
I think it was
for-
like the
hub for
4th
America.
largest, I think.
That's
Well-
surprising then that the fourth largest would have a lot of flights going through it. Is this slash sarcasm?
Yeah, okay. I was like, yeah. So if you've ever if you do a lot of traveling, chances are you've stopped at DFW Airport at least once.
So should we cut here? Should we just
Um,
be lacking on viewers?
yeah, are they dropping out? They're getting bored.
Yeah, I'm bored.
Okay, but we answered some good. Does anyone want to do a? Oh, could you ask me the same question? I wanted to try again.
The by person one?
No,
What does DFW mean?
no.
No.
What is Andrew Yang going to do? I want to try one more time. I want to cut it down to like 45 seconds. And make
All
it-
right.
Can we also just add a spiel on comparing it with how much, what other candidates want to spend on infrastructure?
Ooh.
Or
What do they want to spend on infrastructure? That's a good one.
so
Who cares?
Yeah. Well, I actually kind of feel the same way because I don't want it to become like this. Who can spend the most money contest?
There's two ways we can win. We can win, or we can make every other candidate lose.
Yeah,
We're
well,
not here to
I want to
make
make an answer that's focused specifically on that capital incentive answer. The race to the top. Because I feel like that's something that's truly unique. It's not just throwing money at things.
Oh, so you want to do a race to the top answer specifically?
Yeah, I mean, same question, slightly more focused now.
Excellent. What can Andrew Yang do for America's crumbling infrastructure? And go.
So if you go to yang2020.com, he has a couple of great policies. We'll build American infrastructure and grid modernization. The truth is, infrastructure investment is an important part of addressing climate change, increasing health outcomes by expanding access to rural areas. And the part that Andrew Yang does differently is by changing the incentives of both private and public utilities. By creating a race to the top, where we put a cash prize on utilities to modernize and invest, we change the incentive so that these companies who currently do not spend any money at all on modernization actually have a reason to put the money down and help millions of Americans. So all this investment will create 15 million new jobs, increase economic efficiency by $1.5 trillion, and can read all the details on yang2020.com.
Okay, that's 57 seconds.
Okay, it was still the same amount of time, but I do feel like it was a more focused answer. I don't know.
That's not a good modernization. That's good.
Yeah.
Would you like to be asked any questions about bipartisan or why should we talk about infrastructure?
No,
You don't want to be asked any
I'm
questions?
good on it. I mean, I've
Cool.
answered some questions.
Right. Well, do we want to sign off?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining. This has been our weekly policy workshop.
This will be the last one for the year, right?
It's the last one for the year, but thank you for joining.
Next year.
I feel like this one was more laid back and fun,
Yes.
but I think plugs for things. We have, again, like I mentioned earlier, 5 Yang Gangs in the Metroplex. We have Dallas Yang Gang that has one more meeting for the year, right? This Saturday. And then we're on holiday break.
Yes.
That's not to say it's our last event, but it's our last coffee social. Because then it's going to be like the week of Christmas week. So this Saturday is the last coffee social in Dallas for the year. Oh, the watch parties, yes. Dallas has a watch party December 19th at Rawson Hall, Beer Garden. Yeah. Collin County has a watch party at the Rugby House Pub. I know Fort Worth is having one, I just don't remember where off the top of my head. I believe Denton is joining Collin County this time around because the Denton County Democrats, I don't think they got theirs figured out in time. So just follow us on social media.
Follow Dallas Fort Worth on social media and follow me at KLogsden27.
Oh yeah,
I'm
does anyone
plugging
else
myself.
want to plug their social media? Okay.
Kennedy does such an amazing job of preparing these.
Yes.
She has a wonderful outline. She's so organized and amazing.
I do angry threads and I sometimes tweet about Jedi Fallen Order, which I have platinum.
Andrew Yang has retweeted and replied to Kennedy's Twitter multiple times.
Not
So
about
she's,
Jedi Fallen Order,
she's not-
unfortunately.
Her personal Twitter is pretty popular now. But yeah, to follow us on social media, you're gonna go to DFW the word 4 Yang. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already. I feel like 2020 is gonna be a really exciting year, not just because of the election, but because it's gonna be ramping up a lot.
Is he dabbing?
Excuse me. Make sure to remember to support the campaign. Expect a lot of new action coming from Texas in general in January and February because we're just a few days away from
We're a Super
Iowa.
Tuesday state.
and we're just a few weeks away from Super Tuesday. So if definitely follow us on social media to keep up to date with everything that's going on. And if you don't like websites, you don't like social media, you can go to DFW4Yang.org to sign up to be a
I
volunteer.
hate all websites. I'll never go to a website.
So Hexel's cell phone number is.
Oh my god.
My social security number. Okay, that's all, guys. Tune in next time.
Tune
Thanks.
in next
Bye.
time.
Say bye, Bella.
So the problem is there's
Hold on.
no matching.